Welcome, Olu Design. Welcome, welcome. Welcome. I'm trying to set up my equipment. I'm trying to set up whatever we are using for today's live, my materials. Today we'll be molding gypsum flower vase from scratch, and again we are going to paint an already sculpted flower vase. So I hope the materials all laid out here. Everything is ready. These already molded or sculpted flower vase. This is my gypsum powder. I have both here. Then this is an acrylic paint. An acrylic paint that I'm using for this vase. And then these are cardboard for the new sculpture that we are going to make. So stay to the end. Welcome, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. We are getting ready, trying to put our materials in place. Hi Rev JD2, you're welcome. Can you tell us where you're streaming from? You're welcome to Oli Design. Like I said before, we are making a new flower vase from scratch, and after that we'll be decorating the already sculpted vase, which is this one. Welcome everybody. We are getting our materials ready, so stay to the end. If you like home decor, simple and beautiful DIY techniques, you're welcome to the right place. Tell me where you are streaming from. Hi, welcome. Where are you streaming from? So before we get to the sculpturing of the new flower vase, this is the design that we are going to be making. This is the design. Before we get to this design, we are going to paint this already sculpted vase. And first allow it to dry. I'm using a white acrylic paint. This is a white acrylic paint. So I'll go ahead and paint it, and then we'll leave it to dry for some minutes before we'll come for final repainting and decoration. And for this content, I'm using a gypsum powder. That was what I made this one from, a gypsum powder. That's the material I'm using, a gypsum powder. You might be wondering why I'm using a gypsum. Yes, I'm using a gypsum because gypsum powder is very easy to work with. For me, it is very easy, and then it has a fast setting time. It sets so fast, like in 10 minutes my gypsum sets. and then in about 30 minutes you can demold it. If you're using a mold, you can demold it. Welcome everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please, can you tell us where you're streaming from? This is our first live stream, and if you like home decor making process, do well to stay to the very end. We are making a new flower vase from scratch, but before then we are painting this already molded flower vase. So for now I'm doing the first base using a white acrylic paint, which I'm going to allow it to stay for like 30-40 minutes to dry before I come back. Before we come back to repainting it with the actual color that we would want our vase to have. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where you are streaming from. Welcome, Temamag. I hope I got your name correct. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Where are you streaming from, Temamag? Temamag, where are you streaming from? Thank you for joining us. So this is an already sculpted vase that I did previously, which I will be decorating together today's live. So I am done. So I'm going to keep it aside to dry for like 30-40 minutes before we get into the main business of the day. So I've kept the flower vase to dry. I've kept it to dry. So today, this is the design that we are going to do. This design. We are going to mold a flower vase from scratch. So first of all, I'm going to cut out this shape. I'm cutting out the shape so that we can fix our mold. I'm using a cardboard paper. So I want to show you guys. Welcome everybody. So we are done cutting out the shape. Okay. Hi, welcome. Where are you chatting? Where are you watching from? Welcome. We are making a flower vase from scratch. So I'm preparing the mold that we will be using. Welcome everybody. So some people might be asking, why gypsum? Why am I using gypsum? I prefer gypsum because it's easy to work with. Very easy to work with. And it dries faster. So I'm trying to put them all together so that we can start our full pouring process. Okay. Welcome. Tell us where you're watching us from. So in this session, I'm going to answer some common questions that I receive. Some questions that people have been asking. So while we are live today, I'm going to be answering some of those questions. One of the questions that I usually get often is, does gypsum, when used for a flower vase or for sculpturing, does it last? The answer is yes. It does last, but mind you, it can't hold water. It is designed specifically for aesthetics look, for home decor, flower vase to hold just flowers and to be used as an interior home decor, not to hold water. Yes, it doesn't hold water. It doesn't. So we are done with one side of it, one part of it. We'll be going over to the next. These are simple DIY ideas that you can do for yourself to create beautiful designs for your home, for your office, for your space. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Where are you watching us from? Welcome to Only Designs first live stream. So tell us where you are watching us from. Another reason why I like or I prefer gypsum to pottery clay is that I do not need to fire gypsum after molding. I did not need to fire it or heat it up. Unlike the pottery clay, gypsum, once it is set and dried, I could sculpt it, I could sand it, paint it and decorate it without going through that process of heating. So for me, I prefer working with gypsum because it's very workable for me. Another question that people ask me a lot of time is, how long does gypsum takes to dry? Gypsum takes roughly 10 minutes. Gypsum poured, and when mixed, it turns into a creamy consistency. It takes like about 10 minutes or less sometimes to cure. And then it depends on the type of gypsum. For me, I work with fast curing gypsum. Hi, thank you for joining us. Where are you watching us from? Thank you for joining us. Where are you watching us from? So, like I said, I use a fast curing gypsum for my work because it gives me what I want. In less than 10 minutes, it starts setting. And in roughly 24 hours to 72 hours, it dries completely, free from moist. and it doesn't require you to heat it in a kiln or in an oven to be used, unlike our pottery clay, which requires those procedures. So for me, I prefer working with this gypsum. Thank you for joining us. Where are you watching us from? Okay, our mold is ready. It's almost ready. It's almost ready. So we're going to go ahead and do this part. Thank you for joining us. So our mold is almost ready. Another question I get from people is gypsum strong enough when used as a flower vase? Yes, it is. It is. Gypsum is strong. Not as strong as pottery clay when it's being heated, but then it is strong enough to give you the mold and the shape of the vase you intend to use it for. And then, in case, another name for this gypsum is called plaster. Some people call it plaster of Paris. Some people use the word POP for it. So whichever one you know it for, if you know what I'm talking about, you are good to go. So our mold is almost ready. It is almost ready. We are done sealing it, making sure that we've gotten every perimeters that we will need for the success of what we are doing. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us where you are watching us from? Okay. Our mold is ready. Thank you for joining us. Please, where are you watching us from? So we are making a flower vase using Egyptian powder. So we are done with molding. The next thing we are going to do is to put the design to get the shape that we want to use. I'm going to cut cardboard more in order to secure this perimeter. Thank you for joining us. We are creating a flower vase with gypsum paste from scratch. So tell us where you're watching us from. So don't forget to give us a subscribe. If you love DIY creation and you want to see more of our content, please hit the subscribe button below. So another question that I want to address is on how long gypsum takes to dry. Okay, I've addressed that question. Gypsum dries free from moist for about 3 days, which is 24 hours to 72 hours. But it sets within 10 minutes. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome. Please tell us where you're watching us from. And for the people just joining us now, we are creating a flower vase from gypsum powder. So I'm trying to assemble the mold that we'll be using while we wait for the already painted vase to dry. Thank you for joining us. We're almost done with our mold. Okay. So we have our gypsum powder here. This is what we are going to be using. Our gypsum powder. And we'll go ahead and mix it with water to form a creamy consistency. So I'm mixing it. Remember, this is a fast curing gypsum powder. So in everything that I'm doing, I have to be fast so that it doesn't cure before time. Oh, this is a lot of gypsum. Next time, my mistake, I would have done it in batch. This is a whole lot of gypsum, but we're going to try as much as possible to prevent it from curing before time. So I'm going to add. So I'm going to use my hand so this gypsum doesn't cure first. So I'm going to break the lumps that I'm feeling. I'm going to break the lumps so that I could get a creamy consistency. When using a fast curing gypsum, you have to be time conscious so your gypsum doesn't cure when it's not already been poured in. That's for the people using mold, but then if you're doing it in layers and cutting, you still have to apply the same technique. Okay, we are done and we have a smooth, creamy consistency. So we're going to go ahead and pour our mixture into the mold. Oops. Now mold is leaking from some places, but well, don't overthink it, is part of it. So I'm going to allow it to settle a bit so that it don't keep dropping from this end. So while waiting, I'm going to give this one a good stir so it doesn't cure. You can use Portland cement, a white Portland cement, if you do not like to use gypsum. But for me, gypsum is very workable for me. That's why I use gypsum. You can use a white Portland cement to achieve this. Or then the pottery clay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pour it back again. So we've gotten to half of the mold, and we're going to place this. This is a divider. We're going to place this here. And then continue pouring. Continue the pouring process. We are going to fill this mold. Yes, we are going to fill it. But I just have to wait for a few minutes for what's already inside the mold to set, to start setting before we pour in the next batch. Like I told you, it's already setting. It's already setting. It takes a few minutes to set, and it's already doing that. You can see I'm trying to touch it, and you see that it's already setting. So that is it when you're using a gypsum. And that is why I prefer using a gypsum, because it's very workable. I do not have to wait for hours or a long time to achieve results. So we'll go ahead and transfer the other gypsum powder in this container to the same mixing bowl, so that we'll be using just one bowl for mixture. Like I did before, you pour your water. So I'm going to use my hand because it gives me ease. I'm going to use my hand to make sure that, oops, we have a lump here. We're going to remove every lump. So the second mixture is ready. I'm going to go ahead and pour it. This has already set. You can see it's already setting. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in this second batch of mixture. So we're going to get more gypsum to apply. We're going to mix more gypsum paste. So I'm adding my water again. So we are pouring in the gypsum. So this is going to be the last layer. I'm trying to smoothen out the surface while we allow it to sit for like 30 minutes before we demold. And then we sandpaper it. The gypsum, you can see, is already setting. So while we wait for the other flower, the already painted vase to dry, I'm going to be answering any questions that you have. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section. If you have anything that you would want me to clarify you on, please drop your question in the comment section. Welcome, thank you for joining us. So we are done with molding and we are waiting for the gypsum to dry. I'm trying to remove every excess that's spilled. Thank you for joining us. Where are you watching us from? We are molding a flower vase. We are using a gypsum powder. We've already molded. I think our gypsum is ready. It's ready. We're going to leave it for some time so we don't crack it. We're going to leave it some time. It's already set. You can see. We're going to leave it for like 30 minutes more. So after our gypsum is set and after we are done the molding, we're going to sandpaper it. I'm trying to clean this my surface for the next work. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ravi, JD. Hi. Oh, welcome, 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 Rev JD too. You're welcome. One of the properties of gypsum is that once the chemical process or the hardening process is taking place, it emits heat it emits heat. Right, that if you touch this or touch the body of this cardboard, you will feel a noticeable amount of heat from. That means it is setting, it is hard. You can see it is so hard already. It is so hard already. That means our gypsum has set. It has set, which is called the curing process. Hi, thank you for joining us. So right now we're going to demold. We're going to demold our vase. So we are demolding our vase. It is so hot right now. It's not even up to 30 minutes and our gypsum has set. Thank you for joining us. So we are demolding our flower vase. And look at what we have here. So the next thing we are going to do is to sand it. We're going to sand it using a sandpaper. I prefer to use a soft sandpaper. This is called sandpapering, trying to smoothen out the rough edges of our flower vase. This is going to take some time to do. It's going to take some time, but we'll continue. Thank you for joining us. So in this stage of our flower vase, we are sanding, which is removing the rough edges so we can get a smooth surface. and then go ahead to paint, design, and detail our vase. So this flower vase is made from gypsum. For the people joining us now, this is made from gypsum. Some people call it plaster. Some people know it as POP. So whichever one it is called in your language or country. I hope you understood what I'm saying. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the comment section and tell us where you are watching us from. So this process is going to take quite some time. But we hope to achieve something soon. I'm using a sandpaper to sand it. Yeah, this is going to take quite some time, but we are getting there. Thank you for joining us. So tell us where you're watching us from. So this is a flower vase that is made from gypsum powder. So we've molded. Now we are sanding. I'll try to smoothen. This is the main process of this work. This is where you determine the shape you want your vase to have. You're going to shape it or sand it to your desired shape. Thank you for joining us. So this is a flower vase process going on. We molded this from a gypsum powder, so we are trying to shape it to the final process, or rather smoothen it. Trying to get this out. Thank you for joining us. This is a flower vase process. So I'm trying to get at a divider that I used here to create a space where our flower will be going in. So this is the place, or the space where our flower will be going in. So I'm trying to remove the cardboard I used as a divider. Tell us where you are watching us from. Thank you for joining us. We are creating a flower design and also a home decor. So we made this from a gypsum powder, also known as plaster or POP, plaster of Paris, whatever thing you know it from. So far you understand what we meant. So we've molded we are trying to finish sanding, smoothen it, allow it to dry, and then paint it. And remember, we already painted one vase, waiting for it to dry before the second coating. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the comment section. If you have anything you want us to clarify you on, drop the question in the comment section. Thank you, Nina Felix, for joining us. You're welcome. Nina Felix, you're welcome. You're welcome. So we are going to continue the smoothing process. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us where you're watching us from. Nina Felix, where are you watching us from? We are trying to get a beautiful design. A beautiful design just as this. This is the first. This is the one we already painted. This one, we're trying to get a beautiful design just like this. So we keep smoothing it until we can come to this level of smoothness and consistency. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where you're watching us from. Then if you have any questions for us, please drop it in the comment section. This is gypsum powder. Gypsum paste. Thank you for joining us. Please tell us where you are watching from. So we are making a flower vase. So we made this from gypsum powder, also known as POP, also known as plaster. So whichever one you know it as or know it for. So we've molded and we are trying to sculpt it to our desired shape. To the shape we want it to have. So this is the main process. This stage is the main process of this work.